الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. This video inshallah will be in response to Kalam, who attempts to address our brother Mohammad Hijab in his most recent video regarding racism in classical Shiite texts.
What I'm saying is from the Shiite traditional perspective, yeah? We both agree and we've accepted that this hadith, إِيَاكُمُ الزُّنُوجِ فَإِنَّهُمْ خَلْقٌ مُشَوَّهٌ, that be aware of the Zunuj tribe, the black tribe, because they are a deformed creature.
Now before I delve into the details, let me give the viewer a bit of context regarding Kalam and his channel Titans TV. So Kalam is a YouTuber who's not Sunni, he's not Shia, he's not even Muslim, doesn't speak or understand Arabic. Yet he regularly shoves himself into every single Islamic debate. This is because his channel thrives off our disagreements as Muslims, because it gives him the publicity he's after. And this opportunistic nature of his channel becomes evident when you look at past events. So you have instances where Kalam has hosted Bayat al-Ghadir, where they all, including Kalam, staunchly defended Shia Islam. And then a few weeks later, you see that Kalam hosted Christian Prince on his channel, who's a vile Christian apologist, and he gave him the platform to slander the Prophet ﷺ, to ridicule Islam, and undermine the faith as a whole. And this guy a few weeks ago was staunchly defending Shia Islam with Bayat al-Ghadir. So unfortunately, this is the problem we're dealing with, and this is the issue we have to address today, unfortunately. Now, in his most recent response to Hijab, Kalam embodies academic dishonesty. And the amount of lies that are present in that video are merely countless. And so I'll just let you guys be the judge and take a look at what this guy has to say.
Shaw just said, it basically says black people are deformed people. Excellent. Absolutely excellent. What I'm going to show you is, he's not actually quoting from Shia literature. He's actually quoting from Sunni literature, right? He's quoting from Sunni literature.
Okay, so this is Kalam's first lie. Kalam claims that Mohammad Hijab is quoting a hadith that does not exist in Shia literature. So let's go to Kitab al-Kafi, one of the major Shia hadith books by al-Kulayni, and let's take a look at this chapter heading. So the chapter is called Babu man kuriha munakahatuhu min al-akradi was-Sudani wa ghayrihim. Those from whom marriage is discouraged, such as the Kurds, the blacks, Sudan, and others. So just looking at this chapter heading, we get an idea of what the consequent reports in this chapter will be about. So this is a report. Ja'far transmits from Ali ibn Abi Talib that he said, "Beware from marrying from the Zenj, for they are a distorted creation." Now he plays around with the translation of the report, so we'll address that later inshallah. But this report certainly does exist in the Shia literature. And some scholars have stated that Zenj can be used to refer to the black race as a whole, or it can refer to a specific group of blacks. And either way, it's still pretty bad, right? It entails some form of discrimination against a specific group of people in marriage. And that's unacceptable, regardless of whether it spans the black race as a whole or a specific group of blacks that lived in East Africa. So let's take a look at what other classical Shia scholars have to say. So this is Sheikh al-Tusi in his book al-Nihaya. He's one of the major Shia jurists. He is known as Sheikh al-Ta'ifa, the Sheikh of the sect. What does he say? He says, ويكره نكاح جميع السودان من الزنج وغيرهم إلا النوبة خاصة ويكره التزويج بالأكراد. So he says it's discouraged to marry from the black race as a whole, including the Zenj and others, except the Nubians. And it is also discouraged to marry from the Kurds. Again, they always jump and bypass the Kurds because they're simply not interested in that. But this is also pretty racist towards the Kurds. Nevertheless, Kalam simply lied when he stated that the report is not in Shia literature, as we've clearly shown that it certainly does exist. And it's present in other books as well. So let's move on to the next claim.
Narrators of the chain are all considered to be thiqah, meaning they're all considered to be trustworthy individuals. Later on down the line, they try to say that this isn't Sahih, but earlier times, this was considered to be Sahih. So anyways, this...
Alright, this is the second lie. So Kalam claims that all the transmitters of this report are thiqat, or reliable. So I drew the chains of transmission out for this hadith, and I also included a color key. So yellow is the author of the book where the hadith is mentioned. So you have Ad-Daraqutni, Ibn Majah, Abu Nu'aym, Al-Jassas, and others. Red indicates that the transmitter is either weak or a liar. Blue is an unknown transmitter, and violet is a relatively unknown transmitter. So just looking at this isnad at a surface level, you realize how defective it is, and how much of a liar Kalam is in claiming that they're all thiqat. So let's just take a look at one transmitter as an example. Muhammad bin Marwan al-Suddi. So Abdullah bin Numayr, Jarir bin Abdul Hamid, Ibn Tahir all declared him to be a forger. They said kadhab. And Ibn Hajar said he was accused of forgery. So it's just an example of Kalam's academic dishonesty. Moving on, he presents another conspiracy theory that's pretty bizarre, where he claims that early Sunni scholarship actually believed that the hadith was authentic, and that it's only later Sunni scholarship that declared the report to be weak. So I compiled a list of scholars who declared the report to be a forgery or batil, and we start with Abu Hatim al-Razi. He died in the year 277, and then Ibn al-Jawzi 510, Ibn al-Qayyim 751, As-Suyuti 911, Ibn Araq 963, Al-Albani 1420. So as you can see, Sunni scholarship's actually been consistent in their take on this hadith across the centuries. You know, you have scholars as early as Abu Hatim al-Razi declaring it to be a forgery or batil. Then you have Ibn al-Jawzi mentioning it in his book Al-Mawdu'at, which is a compilation of forgeries. So again, this is another lie that is presented by Kalam. So moving on, and this is where it gets really interesting and hilarious.
Right here. This is what he quoted. I'm not even going to quote it here because you already know my Arabic here isn't really great, right? It isn't really great. This is what
Okay, so this guy admits that his Arabic isn't good. And he admits that he can't even read a single sentence in Arabic. So let's just look at what he has to say a few minutes later in his video.
Number two is your Arabic, yeah? Although your modern Arabic is great, I'll give it to you. Your modern Arabic is great. Your classical Arabic is poor at best. Very poor at best.
Okay, so this guy just admitted that he can't even read a single sentence in Arabic. Yet, he goes on to tell Mohammad Hijab, who's fluent in Arabic, that his Arabic is poor, that his classical Arabic is poor. You know, I don't know how this guy came to that conclusion, since he doesn't even speak modern Arabic or classical Arabic. But it's quite ironic and hilarious, and it's quite weird how some people take this guy seriously. But nevertheless, pretty entertaining content. So let's move on to what this guy has to say regarding that report.
Careful, of the translators. I always tell you, they're the goddamn devil. Because these translators, because you don't know the Arabic and you don't know the classical Arabic, you're going to have to rely on the translation. And you have to realize that the individuals who are translating these works, they have a political agenda, they have an ideological agenda, and they may even have a racial bias when producing translations.
All right, again, we have a guy who doesn't even speak Arabic, can't even read a single sentence, but he's issuing value judgments on other Arab speakers' translations of a classical report. So if that's not a red flag, I don't know what is. But nevertheless, he moves on to distort the report and totally flip it 180 degrees and just switch the meaning. And he does that in the next section, which you will see right now.
Be on your guard when marrying or in marriage. It's okay, because it's funny still. It's funny because it's telling you be on your guard, in marriage or when being married to these, these women of Zanj, because they're jealous women. They're very jealous women. Now, I want to know, does that stink of racism?
All right, so this guy, is lying to you just openly. And he just totally distorted the classical report. Now, point number one, the report doesn't even mention women. It actually spans men and women. That's point number one. Point number two, jealousy is not even mentioned in the report. The report explicitly says, beware from marrying from the Zanj. for they are a distorted creation. And what he essentially does is that he bypasses classical Shia scholarship as well in interpreting this hadith. So even Shia scholars interpreted the report as to mean distorted. And so let's go to Mir'at al-Uqul by al-Majlisi, who's one of the major Shia muhaddithin. He mentions this report and then he says it's sahih. This is point number one. It's authentic in their books. However, it's weak in ours. That's an important point to keep in mind. What does he say? He says, الشوه قبح الخلقة. الشوه means ugliness in appearance or distortion in appearance. So even Shia scholars admitted that the report actually refers to the Zinj as an ugly people or an ugly race or an ugly ethnicity. And that's what Mohammad Hijab exactly said. So he's merely quoting Shia scholarship from their books verbatim. So at the end of the day, I hope you guys see the irony. So you have Mohammad Hijab, an ethnic Arab who speaks Arabic and thus has access to the classical Arabic text. And you have a non-Arab, non-Muslim, non-Sunni, non-Shia, Kemet YouTuber who's shoving himself into the discourse, who's attempting to call Mohammad Hijab out on his Arabic, yet this guy can't even read an Arabic sentence. This guy distorts a whole classical report and bypasses Shia scholarship and Sunni scholarship as well, and he meddles around with semantics. Nevertheless, it's quite ironic that we have to address this guy in the first place. But I think everything's been made clear to you all, and you guys can be the judges. وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.